You just realized your business needed to hire someone yesterday. How can you find amazing candidates fast? Easy. Just use Indeed. Stop struggling to get your job post seen on other job sites. With Indeed sponsored jobs, your post jumps to the top of the page for your relevant candidates, so you can reach the people you want faster. According to Indeed data, sponsored jobs posted directly on Indeed have 45% more applications than non-sponsored jobs. Don't wait any longer. Speed up your hiring right now with Indeed. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/kidsandfamily. Just go to Indeed.com/kidsandfamily right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Hiring? Indeed is all you need.
Are you ready to learn the 3 secrets to launching a successful podcast? Hi, I'm Bill, a recent client of the Podcast Mogul. If you've been thinking about starting a podcast but aren't sure where to begin, he's got you covered. He is hosting a free webinar where he will share the 3 secrets that can help you launch, grow, and monetize your podcast without any fancy equipment or technical headaches. Click the link in the show notes to save your spot now and let him help get your podcast off the ground.
Welcome to Invest in Yourself, the Digital Entrepreneur Podcast. Join the Podcast Mogul Phil Better as he interviews successful entrepreneurs that make their living in the digital world. Now, let's join your host, Phil Better, and his special guest today on Invest in Yourself, the Digital Entrepreneur Podcast.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Invest in Yourself, the Digital Entrepreneur Podcast. I am, of course, your host with the most, Phil Better. Today, I'm very happy to have an amazing guest who has taken the world of... Wait, I have it here. I'm not crazy here. You've taken the world of music by storm. That's what I think I'm going. I got Darran Bruce here. Darran, thank you so much for being on the show.
Thanks for having me, Phil.
So I'm still trying to fight off a cold, so my brain is fuddled. I hate being sick. But Darran, I have an amazing list of accomplishments that you've done. You 12 events every year?
12 events every year?
Per month. Sorry, per month.
For every month.
Jesus.
And that's not including our actual other distribution, which we'll be getting into in a little bit. But yeah, we are ramping up right now to be at about, this month they'll probably end at about 60 hours of content, and we'll be ramping up to be at about 100 to 120 hours of content a month, featuring electronic musicians, DJs, producers, industry-related professionals. We're really taking the brand by, we're coming out of the gate.
Going forward, yeah.
Yeah, and going forward.
All right, Darran, how did you get started? Like, were you always a musician by trade or something?
Not necessarily a musician. My brothers were musicians growing up, and so my dad kind of lavished the gear and the equipment. They were in a band. They were rocking punk rock, type of music. And I gravitated towards the one toy that I wasn't allowed to ever touch in the house, the video camera. This is 1979. Video cameras were about $1,000. VCRs were about $1,000. That was a lot of money back then.
Yeah.
And I mean, it wasn't like 1950s and a dime was now worth $5,000 or something like that. But still, a lot of money. And my dad always said, don't play with a video camera. You're going to knock it over. You're going to break it. But of course, when parents leave the house, you kind of play with the things you're not supposed to play with.
Oh, yeah, fully.
And started making home movies and having fun with that, and set the way forward clock to high school. Our state offered the first ever video production class in a high school environment. So I kind of just gravitated towards that, knowing how to grab the camera, understood the VCR. Half the kids in that class, they'd never played with a video camera before. And
theoretically, never did you either.
Yeah, never, right. Never did I either. But, I just gravitated towards the video side of things. I grew up, with the advent of the VCR, being able to watch movies. You weren't stuck to just HBO or watching it at 8:00 at night when it came on, that Friday night movie of the week. Whatever, you could watch movies over and 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 over
until the magnetic strip gets broken. Like, oh my God, I have to buy another one, and then your dad yells at you. It's a whole
exactly
thing. Kids today don't understand.
So I was actually at a bar the other day, and my girlfriend comes in, and Empire Strikes Back is on the big screen behind the bar. And I'm watching, I'm like, oh, this is the new digital version. I don't like it very much with what they did with the Lucasfilm retouch. But that being said, I'm like, I turned around, I go, I've seen this movie probably about 250 times. And she goes, what? And I go, okay, conservatively, maybe at least 150 times. And, I loved movies. I loved, the imagination, what you could translate and tell a story. So coming right out of high school, I went to, I ran into a guy, met a guy, and he was doing a public access hip hop television show. And I started working with him on and off for a number of years. Was pretty much what I would call a glorified production assistant. I never really got an official title, although he wanted me in front of the camera a lot. And I was like, no, I don't want to be in front of the camera. And it was a couple of years in, he goes, why don't you want to be in front of the camera? I go, because everyone who gets in front of your camera, they're gone in 6 months to a year. I want to know what you do to produce the show. And I'm here, I'm down to make the show happen. Long story short, set the clock about 8 years forward after that to 2000. And we start working on a late night talk show. Think of it like Arsenio Hall show for the Pacific Northwest. Kind of get my kick in. I make my first $1,800 on a week's worth of work, which I probably put in about 70 hours worth of work that week. But I said, this is what I want to do for a living. I want to executive produce or produce shows. And at the time, we only had broadcast television or public access. There was no YouTube. There was no iPod videos. There was no live stream. There was nothing online for online video. And so kind of said, I want a contract. And they're like, no, we don't want to give you contracts. And I'm like, well, we should all have contracts so we know who's responsible for what. But if you're not going to operate on the board, then guess what? I'm off the board. I'm walking. So I went out, took my last $800 and went to school to learn how to run a company, fast track to go to the UW business school, all that fun stuff. And it was there when I produced my first show, my first television series, Phantasmagoria, to Fox. Executive produced, put the whole show on Fox here locally. And then got a number of other shows approved to air on stations. And come about 2005, we had 8 separate television shows approved on 12 network stations on the West Coast.
Nice.
Yeah, it was like we were looking ready to go. Money, studio, knocking on doors. And then this thing called YouTube came out. And I was working for Apple at the time. And we saw YouTube as somebody like this. I'm using my webcam right now, and I'm talking to the screen. And that's YouTube. It's you on the tube.
Yeah.
I didn't like that concept because I'm like, we're broadcast television shows. We're broadcast tube, not YouTube. So we kind of overlooked that YouTube opportunity there as not somewhere where we really wanted to distribute. And which hindsight goes, yeah, that was a stupid move.
Don't worry. Everybody, when YouTube came out, was like, this is only a fad. It's not going to last.
Yeah.
Fast forward.
So,
now there's
and
a billion
where
now.
we saw something coming into play, and while I was working for Apple, was the moment they released the photo iPod and it had a color screen. I was working in the store and I said, what would it take for them to put a watered down version of a QuickTime file and put it on a thing and have a video player? Like, I knew it was coming. I knew it was coming. And Apple's very secretive and all that fun stuff. But when the video iPod got released, the first thing I said is, and they released them and they couldn't talk about any of the deals they had with NBC, ABC, CBS, because if they did, those deals would kind of announce what was coming out. So when all these iPods got put in the store, these iPod videos got put in the store, they had no videos on them. So we couldn't demo them. Like, people come, I want to see it. I want to see what it looks like. There's no shows on them. So I said, well, what if we take our pilot series, ITV, and we put all 8 of our episodes on these iPods? And we figured out the file size to do it, got them all loaded on the store. Management approved. It was not corporate approved. But my managers loved it because now we had something to demo the iPod videos with. And on top of that, I had reached out to the podcast division at Apple. And I said, hey, by the way, we got a video podcast. Check us out. And iTunes at the time, their podcast section just was like a list of shows.
Was horrible.
It was very horrible, very backwards. And so the guy says, okay, Darran, you got this all set up? I said, yeah. He goes, come back and look at the store on Thursday. This is like a Tuesday. And I said, okay, what's happening on Thursday? He goes, I can't tell you, but look at the store.
Check it out.
So Thursday rolls around. We look at the iTunes store. It's completely revamped with the podcast sections, first, version 1. And they had made these separate sections like comedy podcasts, how-to podcasts, and they made a video podcast section. And we debuted at number 48 out of 50 in the video podcast section in iTunes. And I was like, okay, like you said, YouTube was looked at as, is it going to be a fad? Podcasting wasn't a fad. Apple wasn't a fad. The iPod is not a fad. So we said, we're striking gold here. We actually ended up going from 1,000 downloads a week, 10,000 downloads a week, 50,000 downloads a week. At one point, we're doing 300,000 downloads a week. And we went from position 48 to position number 23. And we're looking at everyone else in the iTunes store as a video podcaster. And we're like going, how do we monetize this? Because there were no Nielsen ratings. Yeah. There were no Arbitron ratings. We had verified GoDaddy numbers. We could look at how many files were being downloaded, cross-section that with how much bandwidth we were using, and, kind of say, this is how many actual downloads we're getting of our shows. But that didn't give you demographics.
No. That
didn't. So you could go out and say, this is what we're doing. And so everyone was kind of like, and it was such a new phenomenon, like, how do you make money at this? So set the way forward clock a few years after that. We're podcasting. Yay. So our back end has always been a podcast series. Like our main infrastructure, how we distribute, is a podcast. And set the way forward clock to 2007. I started getting into live streaming, working for a company. 2009, came up with an idea to do a live streaming series called the DJ Sessions and feature celebrity DJs and local DJs. And it kind of shifted away from the podcasting of the brand of ITV and just went forward with the DJ Sessions. And that's been the brand we've been working on for the last, going on 13 years here. And we're recognized by Ustream and Livestream as a featured partner right out of the gate. But our real big win for us was in 2018 when GoDaddy slapped my hand for the fifth or sixth time saying, you can't be doing 90 to 120 terabytes of data of use on a $15 a month hosting plan. And I come back and say, but it says unlimited and it says unlimited storage. No.
Screw you.
So screw you. So our podcast went ooh and went down. And then at the same time, Ustream was being bought out by IBM. And we went from a $10 a month grandfathered in storage plan account for being a featured partner with them to them saying, we're getting rid of that, pull down all your videos, or you're going to have to start paying us $1,700 a month to host your videos. And the amount of content we were looking to churn out at that time was going to add about another $100 to $200 a month. So right now, if I was still with Ustream and the amount of content we produce, I think we're at 1,300 episodes. Maybe we're at 11 or 1,300 episodes at that point. And now we're at 2,300 episodes. I probably would be paying about $4,000 or $5,000 a month to host on Ustream. And Ustream isn't even the platform that it was back then, because now Twitch is running everything. So I took my brand to Twitch, got in front of the main content person there and showed him the show, showed him the brand. He said, get over here. You're automatically a featured partner. We were one of the first featured partnered live streaming DJ shows with Twitch, which is like a huge honor. They put us to the front page of the website for the first time. I didn't know what to expect. I didn't know much about Twitch and their platform. I knew it was Justin TV beforehand, but we were Ustream, live stream, Justin TV. And they put us to the front page of Twitch, and we had 2,700 viewers in the chat room. I mean, it exploded. It was like, whoa, and we were not ready for it.
No,
from a branding standpoint, we weren't ready for it. I was thinking, it's front page. We might have 100 people in here, 50 people in here. Okay, cool. He comes back and goes, no, Darran, we've reserved those spots. People pay us $50,000 to $100,000 for 2 to 4 hours to get those spots on the front of Twitch. We just gave it to you because you're one of our featured shows. This is obviously pre-2020.
Yeah.
So the conversation would still go like this. Oh, we're a featured partner on Twitch. We do a live streaming DJ show. People would say, why would I want to watch a DJ show online? Wouldn't I want to go and see it in person? And by the way, what's Twitch?
Yeah.
So I got to have the conversation and say, well, did you ever listen to the radio? Have you ever listened to music online before in some way, like an internet radio station? Yes. Okay. Well, that's the concept of our show, only with video. And number two, that company called YouTube that's owned by Google? Well, Twitch is basically owned by Amazon. So, and they go, oh, nowadays everyone's like, oh, you got a show on Twitch? Okay, cool. Oh, yeah, I watch live streaming DJs all the time. I love it. I get to see them.
Blah, blah, blah. Yeah.
Blah, blah, blah. So that just sets us up to, coming forward and building our brand. the mobile sessions. We started getting into events and started putting on our own rooftop sessions. We do silent concerts, AKA silent discos. We do a number of different things out there, and we're really now positioning ourselves to grow our brand and take it internationally. So this year, the first time we've ever taken our show on the road will be to the Amsterdam dance event in ADE this October. And we're positioning ourselves over the next 6 months, 5-6 months, just to be a force majeure when we show up there to say, this is the DJ sessions. This is what we got. Hello, industry professionals. And we've opened the door as well to not just focus on just DJs and the music. We've now focused on opening up to all electronic music industry professionals that are out there that are doing their thing. So we want to talk to promoters, agents, booking managers, record labels, lighting designers, promoters, anyone that's in the industry to really take a new direction, because I'm not going to knock anyone in this game, but kind of what happened a couple of years ago, everyone found out, I want to do a podcast or I want to do a live stream. So anyone with a camera and a microphone is now jumping online. And it's in the DJ world, anyone that's a DJ, they're like, if they can't be booking gigs, they're like, I got a camera, I'll do it from my living room, and I'll do a DJ show. And I said, we've been doing that for years. I want to change the brand up. I want to become more of a news repository where people are coming and hearing it from the artist's mouth first, hearing exclusive mixes from the DJs, top world-renowned DJs and also local DJs, because that's kind of our format, is to focus on the little guy and help them out and grow, but really being a brand that people can turn to and trust, that they know they're getting the goods about the industry, and there's still a lot of blogs out there that do this. There are some great shows out there that do this, and they do it in an audio format, but very far and few between are people in that video realm of things.
Go ahead.
I know. I got to add in one more thing. It doesn't. Go ahead.
Stop, I'm loving this. I don't have to talk. I love it.
It doesn't stop there, because I literally just got a WhatsApp this morning where I tell people right now, if you aren't having the discussion within your organization or who you are as a content provider, if you are not talking about VR in any way, shape, or form, or even looking at it, you are out of the game. I'm not an uppity person, and I'm better than everyone. Yeah. It's like I can't have a conversation with you, because you have to. To me, VR is the new website. To me, VR is the new podcast, is the new live stream, where you can now have a venue built out, tailored experience in this 3D experience. And I just got off the phone with a company out of the UK that is building environments where you can have your own nightclub on their platform, on their app in Oculus. Kind of a little bit what we're going for, which we've already launched 2 VR nightclubs in alt space, which are pretty awesome builds. And we're kind of taking the Starbucks route where we'll have a build here, a build here, a build here. But this one kind of already is, they're talking directly with Facebook. They're talking directly with Sony to take care of all the licensing and the live streaming. And so, we'll be partnering with them in some way, shape, or form. But now you got to look at the new Oculus 3 coming out, if that's what it's going to be called. And the next conversation after VR is augmented reality, or AR. And if you're not, and since we do real life in-world events, we want to definitely have a VR presence and an AR presence as well, or mixed reality presence. And that's kind of the future. That's the next 15 years. So kind of gave you the history of how I started, what we've been doing for the last 12, and where we're going for the next 15.
What I love how you brought up the VR, AR, and MR. For those who don't know, VR is virtual, augmented reality, and then mixed reality. We actually had a company that is doing AR, VR, MR games and that previously on the show, and what they were talking about was insane. So just imagining like the DJ version of that, like if I can't go see, some of the big guys like, not Mushroom. Is it Mushroom? I'm not Marshmallow. Like I can't get to Marshmallow, but I can buy a VR ticket and I'm at his place. Like I may not be physically at the event, but I'm there enjoying this mix, that exclusivity that can be brought by that. I love how the internet is changing the game. This is why I started this show, just to learn what's coming, because I don't have time to talk.
Originally, one of the concepts that I had with Phantasmagoria back in 2001, when we had our first website, was I had a chat room built into the website, and you were going to be able to watch our show on broadcast television at 1:30 in the morning, because that's all that was available. But you could chat with us while our show was live, and the producers would get on. Then when live streaming came out, and you were able to have the chat room right there as you're doing the live stream, and that interaction right there. Now you're going to be able to take it into a VR environment, have your avatar all dressed up the way you want to, go into these really awesome rooms that are beautiful. Some of these places are just amazing, and be able to actually interact and look and, hey, how you doing? And talk with people and go over in this corner and have a virtual drink and chit chat, or have special access to go into this section over here, or, you know, buy concert tickets, like you said, and be in those environments. And it's just, it's kind of the next wave. It's out there.
Exciting.
It is exciting. And sometimes, like most first adapters, you know, we're talking up here at a like 50,000 foot level of understanding. And, you know, it has to bridge that gap though, and come down to where we're looking at probably this Christmas being a big one, obviously, because Meta runs Oculus. We know Microsoft, we know Google, we know Sony,
Amazon's
Nintendo. I don't even know. I think Nintendo's probably working on something in their R&D.
Technically, they were the first. They had the Virtual Boy back in the old school.
Oh, Virtual Boy. Yeah, Virtual Boy. Gosh, I never got one of those. That was a little past my Nintendo phase.
It was at the end of mine. It was at the end of my Nintendo before I jumped into Sony. And
I had the Power Glove as a kid. Power Glove was fun. I never had the robot. I just thought that was kind of the gyroscope robot.
I had the bazooka.
The bazooka. Okay, yeah, the bazooka was
the bazooka. From the handgun to the bazooka to the Power Glove.
Yep, Power Glove. But never got into the Virtual Boy. Yeah, that was an interesting one. I did have a Game Boy though, but never had a Game Boy Color though. It was always the old school yellow screen.
Oh, and, yeah, those were the best. Those were the best ones.
But you know, looking at where VR is going to go, and people are still stuck in a 2D environment. We're still consuming a lot of our stuff in a 2D environment. And you pay that $300, like my friend said, it'll be the best $300 you ever spent. And I don't work for Meta. I'm not a fan, not a fanboy of them. I'm not, getting paid to endorse their product. But I said a couple years ago that when the price point comes down to $300, or that Atari or that Nintendo price point of like $99 or $100, they're going to start flying out the door.
Oh, yeah.
And I think a few people, they're going to wait, because apparently the Oculus 3 is going to have AR and the VR and AR built into it. So you'll be able to do it, or a mixed reality experience. It'll be pretty awesome to see what that comes out. And then they got Project Aria. That's a whole nother ball of wax, which is, that's your glasses that you'd wear out, like, not like Google Glass, but
very similar in idea to Google Glass.
Exactly.
But, not different. My God, I love when I get to talk to first adapters and people who are already looking to the next level, especially about VR, because VR, like everyone saw Ready Player One. They were like, we want that. And Google was, all the big tech companies are like, okay, we can do it. They have the money. They can spend $30 billion on it and not even be a drop in the bucket to them. Jesus. I'm so excited. I like when I first got the email saying that you were going to come on, I was like, okay, this is going to be cool. We're going to talk about some DJing, how we started this. Now I'm like, oh my God, he's going to the next level here. He's not a DJ.
You want to know the craziest thing? One of my friends brings up to me about my VR nightclub, and you got to remember this when you're in VR. He goes, "Hey, Darran, why are those pylons here in this room? There's no gravity here. You don't need it. It's not structural. So why are these here? You should remove these." And I said, you got a good point there, but the adaptation of people getting in, we're not going for the crazy world. There's some crazy worlds that most people might get into, and they're like, oh, I don't know how do I get around here? How do I do this? So we stuck with the original build, and we call it Beta Nightclub because we haven't even launched version 1 yet. But we go with the 4 walls, roof, floor philosophy, walk up and down stairs, walk around the corners kind of environment, because that's what people are going to want to see their first go round. Yeah. Version 2 will be more of, you're going to be flying into different areas.
We're going to be in space, is what you're saying. Yeah. We're going to be in space.
Yeah. And yeah, and I got some awesome builds I'll be showing that I work with some developers to make these things. And they're like, now this is a virtual reality nightclub.
Oh,
You
I
know,
can't wait. I'm so excited to see the next versions of these nightclubs coming up. I haven't had a chance to jump into Oculus. It's on the metaverse and all that, but it's on my list because it's going to be insane.
well, what's cool is you can, with our build in Altspace, you can go in from your laptop.
Awesome.
And I think VR chat, you can go in from VR chat from your laptop as well right now. It's not the same experience. I don't know if you remember something called Second Life.
Yes, I remember Second Life.
So
yeah.
I used to be huge into Second Life in 07 to 09 roughly. And it was great. It was 3D. You could see it, but there was no glasses. There was no immersion into it. You were just on your laptop and you'd fly. You try to explain it to people like, oh, is it a video game? And it's like, no, it's a sandbox. Well, what's a sandbox? It means like, oh, whatever you build, you own. And there was an in-world currency, which is so weird because all these platforms haven't. They know all of them know about Second Life, but none of them have like an in-world currency. How that's going to look with crypto or NFTs coming into the marketplace and all this fun stuff. So there's I see a huge opportunity here on many levels. I was in a room the other day. The guy has literally built a conference center, and you buy booths like you would at a trade show, and then you have your booth, and then he has a networking event, and he says, okay, everyone, now go and network. So he'll have like 50, 60 people in a room, and then they'll go into the conference center, and you can have your own conference booth and you can work your conference booth at the show, and people walk. This thing is huge. I mean, big in a VR term.
Yeah.
But it'd be like a regular conference floor with hundreds of booths around. Jesus. It's really kind of cool.
And it helps because it cuts down costs because I don't have to travel there now. If I'm a virtual business, if I do all my business online, I don't have any physical products. I don't need to fly out there. I can just pay the $150, got my booth. I can have 100 meetings in the day, and I haven't even left my office or my had to get dressed today.
Yeah. Eventually, they have with another company I talk with, which is using version 2 and version 3 tech. They actually have it where you can have conference bubbles inside your build. So when you go inside that conference bubble, only you and I could hear us talk. So we could have a private meeting and we could lock the door, and that way nobody else could hear what we're talking about in that virtual space. They can do a 10-story building and then have different things on each floor of the building, and have different booths. And yeah, it's next level stuff.
Oh my God. I can't wait. Let's get back to a bit more about you. Instead about what the future is bringing for the DJ sessions.
Sure.
What would you have a tip for? Okay, where you deal with you deal with DJs, you deal with musicians, you deal with all these amazing creative folk. What tip would you have for them to start getting into the digital world, start getting their digital presence? Because a lot of them need to start doing it now before it's too late.
Yeah. First of all, I think you just said it right there. Start now doing something before it's too late. There are 10-year-olds out there. My friend's son, maybe he's 11. Ashley, if you're listening, don't hate me for this. But all he wants to do is be a YouTube streamer. Mm-hmm. And unfortunately, you can't. You're under 13. You can't. I mean, mom wants to send him up the channel, but that's how young they're getting. Probably even younger. They're getting involved with this. They're doing the Minecraft. They're getting into this, and the technology is they just need a laptop with a webcam, and set it up and however they want to put it together, and boom, now they got a channel and they're distributing. If a 10-year-old or 11-year-old is into doing digital media, and for whatever reason you're an artist and you're not seeing digital media as a form or something you want to explore, you're done.
That's true.
You're not, because those 10-year-olds are going to become the future producers, the future DJs, the future musicians. One of the biggest things I think we're going to see here is musicians, or what we saw over the last 2 years with all the venues closing down, is the flock of musicians jumping online to platforms like Twitch. And, the biggest hurdle though that people ran into was copyright.
Yeah.
And in your licensing and understanding the rules and regulations and laws and reading the damn terms and conditions of these websites you're submitting stuff to, and then not trying to cry about it and think that Amazon should pay the bill or Facebook should pay the bill. And because it's not really up to them on how these laws are written. They have to abide by the laws, and a lot of people are breaking the law. And so understanding your industry and the legal points, but I think what we'll see here is the rise of the independent artist that can really build something on their own channel using a platform like Twitch, especially if they own the rights to their music.
Yeah.
So know what you're getting into legally. Read those terms and conditions. Yes, you might be able to do a DJ stream live on Twitch. It's when it expressly says on the back end of their T's and C's and their community guidelines, no DJ sets, no radio style music shows, no karaoke shows.
Wow.
Right. Big, bold, black letters on their site. These are music. Twitch has slowly been kind of educating the populace what's happening down the line. People thought I've been a naysayer of the last few years. When like, oh, you don't know what you're talking about. It's like, no, you don't know what you're talking about. You're complaining about something. Go read the fine print. You'll find out what's happening. Research what's happening in the industry. And by the way, I came out a couple of years. It was 2020. I think I put a post out there on Facebook. I said, hey, you know what? Everyone who's live streaming DJ sets right now, you all are criminals. Oh, and guess what? I'm a criminal too. It was supposed to be a very funny post.
Yeah.
Like a joking post.
I could see where it's coming from funny because you did say, hey, I'm a criminal too. But I also could see all the negative backlash that would come from that.
And I was just trying to say, look, here it is in black and white, the terms and conditions. If you're wondering why you're getting shut down on Facebook, if you're wondering why you're getting shut down on YouTube, you don't watch out. The same thing's going to happen to you on Twitch. They will red flag. They are going to active monitoring. They have to because of the EU. I've talked with people about this. I was on a podcast 2020, and turns out that a friend of the CEO of Mixcloud listened to that podcast, went back and listened to the podcast I did with the interview with the attorney, Gordon Firemark out of LA, told the CEO of Mixcloud about it. The CEO of Mixcloud reaches out to me and says, I want to be on your show.
Jesus.
You're talking about the right stuff that nobody's talking about. Nobody has this conversation. And we try to tell people all the time, make sure this, or it's one of the main reasons why Mixcloud will probably become a premier platform. Again, not getting paid by them to endorse.
Soon you will. With all the promo you're doing with this, I think they're going to be reaching out.
Well, Mixcloud has a very unique way they've set it up where they've gotten all the licensing rights and the music rights because they only distribute audio. They will stream live video, but no live video exists on their site. So that means you don't have to worry about master use, sync rights, and all those kind of things because it's a one-time ephemeral use in live streaming. But they can rip the audio, and they have all the deals with the licensing, and it automatically tracks it all and pays out all the royalties.
See, that's what Twitch should have done. Twitch should have done something like that.
You can't because it's video.
Yeah.
And it goes into a whole mucky muck ball of wax. And each song, when it goes to video, imagine I'm a DJ and I got 12 songs in 1 hour. I have to get sync and master use for each one of those songs before it gets put up as a video. So that means I'd have to make the mix, submit for the licensing, wait to hear back from everyone, get all the costs, pay all the costs, get the rights to it. Then I can put that video online. And I probably won't get in perpetuity rights. So it'll be a limited amount of time. But it even gets worse than that. Let's say one song is owned by 5 different companies.
Oh, my God.
I got to get permission from all 5 companies. Even worse, this company can say $1. This company can say $2, $3, $4, $5. If $5 company takes it, I got to pay all the companies $5.
Jesus.
For one song. You could have 12 to 14 songs in a 1 hour set. And you have to have these permissions before it gets put online. Now, what happened in the EU, I know we're not talking about me, but
it's fine. No, this is great education for my listeners. I've interviewed a lot of people who are helping artists, so this is even better.
A lot of people that don't know what just happened and passed in 2019 in the EU is there's in the DMCA and the EU used to have something called a safe harbor, which means companies like YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, they said, hey, we can't monitor all this content going to our sites at all. It'd be impossible. There's 1 million videos a minute going up to YouTube. There's no way to monitor them all. So the law was was written in that says, hey, if you make a way that this company can say there's copyrighted music being used, please take it down. Okay, YouTube takes it down. They're not held liable because they're in that safe harbor and protected. EU just did away with the safe harbor. So the moment a video goes up, the content, whoever, YouTube, Facebook, whoever that goes up there, they are now held liable automatically. So that's why there's a live system in place, or what's called active monitoring. So if we're doing a live stream, it's listening to your stream. If it detects it, it goes, we've detected copyright material. And Facebook has it, so does YouTube. And they go, if you don't stop this, we're shutting you down. And we're shutting it down, and you're not going to get a recording of this. Please don't do this. If you do this on our system again, 3 strikes, you can be banned from our system. Twitch has talked about active monitoring. They haven't said much about active monitoring, but they know it's there. It's coming down the line, and a lot of people that are streaming on Twitch will start to get those takedowns. Now, the one thing that Twitch has that I haven't seen with maybe Facebook has it, maybe YouTube has it as well, but you have the ability to turn off, to store your video on demand on or off. So the question is, if I turn that button off, do not store my video on demands on Twitch, all I'm doing is a streaming platform, will it turn active monitoring off? So that way it doesn't, because the only way I could get a video up to Twitch after that would be if I upload it in, the algorithm will go through and say flag. So that's the curious thing. Does switching that switch on or off change the game for live streaming people that are
live streaming music not legally allowed?
But you can if it's a one-time use.
Yeah.
Like if you're doing a Super Bowl, this is how they create it. So let's say I'm at the Super Bowl and I'm talking to you, interviewing you, and all of a sudden AC/DC Back in Black comes on behind me, and it's broadcast live. Well, I don't have to get the licensing for that because that one instance only lives live one time. It's not going to live somewhere else. And that's the one thing that live streaming is kind of working with right now of why they can't do this. But the moment that video on demand goes on, and we used to get red flags all the time. This is something that was brought to our attention when we went to Twitch. I said, we'd love to go back to the front page of Twitch. They said, okay, that's great. We know you can get your licensing for the live performance and this specific episode. That's cool. But you have 450 videos on our platform that have red flags all over them. And that opens up a can of worms for you because you do that, you go up front. These Sony people, these Universal people, they watch what's going on the front of our website. They could come back and go, your channel's gone. Not only that, you also got 1,300 videos over on your website too. They could go all the way back to 2009 and say, what's going on here? So in 2020, when everyone was jumping online in this big boom of podcast live stream rush, we were sitting back figuring out our licensing, figuring out what was going on, make sure our brand is protected in a way. And there's certain tips and tricks and things that I will not divulge with the public because that's competition.
Yeah, it's you need to stay ahead of the game so that you can be the number one DJ session in the world, bringing the number one show for DJs to come and listen to. I do want to know what your favorite moment so far has been in your journey, because you've had a long, illustrious career. And I want to know, what has been a moment that you're like, this is why I do what I do?
I would say it was the first time I bring this up. It's once a year or once every couple of years, Facebook, the algorithms reminds me about the first time I ever had a celebrity DJ play on my show. And this is 2009. And this is kind of the defining moment of where it went from just a local bedroom show to this can go worldwide. And it was earlier that year, I was at Winter Music Conference, and I had met the PR agent for Dave Dresden, Dresden and Gabriel, very world-renowned DJs, huge DJs. She also does PR for Carl Cox. And so we had set up an interview opportunity with a number of her DJs out there, Dave Dresden being one of them. And I'd interviewed Dave Dresden, 2009 Winter Music Conference. I had an opportunity to interview Carl Cox. At that time, I did not know who Carl Cox was. Yeah.
Okay. It's okay.
Yeah. But anyway, set the way forward clock to around October, November that year. And I get word that Dave Dresden is coming to town to play at one of our clubs. So I reached back out to his PR person. I said, hey, could we get Dave on the show for an interview? We're doing this new thing, the DJ sessions. Could he maybe come by and play a set as well? Because remember, you miss 100% of the shots you never take. So I just threw it out there. She goes, yeah, Dave's totally down to come by and hang out and do that. And I'm like, okay, cool. So in my apartment, which was a 1-bedroom apartment, more over glorified studio apartment.
Yeah.
I got Dave Dresden playing on the decks in my bedroom studio, which is the new studio, not my living room studio.
Yeah.
And Dave is playing on the decks. I got like 14, 15 people over my house. And I'm like, this is it. This is it. We could do celebrity DJs and local DJs and invite the celebrity DJs when they come into town to be on the show. And I could do my red carpet, interview them, maybe have them play a set, but then get exposure for the local DJs on a worldwide level. Because if they go out there and share it, and people watch the show, like, oh, who was playing before that? So click, 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 click. Gears started turning. And, you know, that was the moment that I think really defined the DJ sessions to where it could go. And that was 2 years before a show called The Boiler Room started that came out of the UK. And they feature predominantly just celebrity DJs from all different clubs and places from all over the world. So we were kind of doing that. And again, financing is always an awesome thing to figure out when you're an independent artist. You know, apparently, you know, our competitors got financing. We were looking at knocking on doors. I had some personal struggles I was going through in my life that have now been wiped away, or, you know, in that sense of things. Just burning the candle at too many ends, you know. And that was, I was talking to somebody the other day, is, you know, one of the things to look out for is make sure your time management is make sure you're controlling your time management. Make sure you aren't burning yourself out. And to-do lists. I'd be nowhere if I didn't have my to-do lists.
Yeah, to-do lists are so important.
I mean, and I'm actually going to be putting hopefully maybe next year, I'll put my coffee table book out of my to-do list with like anecdotes of different phases of the DJ sessions and kind of going through all these notes and what it takes to get to where I'm at. It's not just like, oh, it's a to-do list and I kind of check it back once a month. There's usually 40 to 50 things on each of these things, and I got hundreds of these things. And each one of them, you can tell the task has been completed because I've crossed them off. You're like,
I think that's the best feeling when you get to cross something off your to-do list.
I can't remember if it's a dopamine or serotonin. In fact, I was just talking about this yesterday, but they say if you want a natural chemical reaction, make a to-do list and then check things off the to-do list, and it does. It just energizes you. It's amazing. Exactly.
We are coming to the end of the show. We're going a little over, but I don't care because it's been an amazing conversation with Darran Bruce, the executive producer of the DJ Sessions, an amazing show that's live, that international and local DJs and celebrities and all that. And he's been talking our ear off, and it's been amazing. But I want to get the last question. I'm a voracious reader of books. I love books. I'm curious to know, what is a book that you constantly go back to read in the entrepreneurial world or in the DJ world even?
You know, I a long time ago, I published, you know, or posted about the top 10 books that I say would be my go-to books. One that constantly stays in the front of my mind. It's a pretty easy read. It's more geared towards sales, I would think, but you could use it in many aspects of life. And the name of the book is called Getting to Yes. And the concept is that when you start something, it's your first time going out there, you're going to get a lot of no's. And to not let those no's disenfranchise you, because you have to get so many no's before you get to a yes. Yeah. And then once you get to that yes, you come back and you analyze and you say, what did it take to get you that yes? Did I quote the right numbers? Was I on top of the phone call? Did I respond quick enough? Was my product superior to my competitors? What was it that focused on and getting me that yes? And then you come back and you take that to the next sale. You start seeing those no's get smaller and smaller. But you always got to know there's going to be no's, a lot of no's in front of you. And it might just be people that I came to the conclusion there's 3 types of people in the world. People are going to say yes. People are going to say no. People are going to say no just because they hate it. You're going to make a bunch of money. And they just want to say no anyways.
Yeah.
in that sense of things. So yeah, definitely getting the yes is one of those. Think and Grow Rich was always a great one. Gosh, there was one the other day by Tim Robbins. Why do I know the author? I forget the name. Good to Great.
Yes. Oh, that's another one that's been repeated a few times here.
Good to Great is an amazing book that I love. And I just I forgot the name of the title yesterday, but I just remembered it. 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, 1 Minute Manager. My dad was in sales, worked for Xerox, so I kind of grew up with these books kind of.
Oh, yeah, no, I understand. My dad was in insurance sales, so I have those books as well. Yeah. Darran, I'm going to jump off the screen here. I'm going to let my audience know where they can find you, how they can connect with you. And so the floor is yours.
Absolutely. You can find us at thedjsessions.com. Find us on TikTok, find us on Twitter, find us on Instagram, Facebook, everywhere you want to go to, thedjsessions.com. We have a ton of content being released every week, almost every day. Something new is happening on thedjsessions.com. And don't forget to check out our virtual nightclubs in alt space. Just type in the DJ sessions. You'll find them, pop them up, say hi. We always answer our fan mail, always answer calls. And if you're a DJ or producer or electronic music industry professional, definitely reach out to us. We'd love to have you on the show.
Awesome. Darran, I can't thank you enough for joining me, talking about VR, talking about the next wave of what DJ sessions are going to be, about your journey here. It's been an incredible chance to connect with you.
Phil, I really appreciate being here.
All right. To my audience, as you know, the show notes will have all the links to Darran's stuff so that you can become a fan of the DJ sessions. And I'm definitely going to be sending this episode to a couple of my DJ friends to get them on your show because they're amazing. So why not bring some more local Canadian talent over to your show? But always, guys, another big thanks to Darran for being here from the DJ sessions. And remember to always invest in yourself.
Thanks for tuning in. Now it's time to take the next step. When you're ready to dive deeper into how to launch, grow, and monetize your podcast, Phil's got something special for you. Join him for a free webinar where he'll reveal the 3 secrets that have helped countless entrepreneurs succeed in podcasting. Click the link in the show notes to save your spot, and let's turn your podcasting dreams into reality.
You just realized your business needed to hire someone yesterday. How can you find amazing candidates fast? Easy. Just use Indeed. Stop struggling to get your job post seen on other job sites. With Indeed sponsored jobs, your post jumps to the top of the page for your relevant candidates, so you can reach the people you want faster. According to Indeed data, sponsored jobs posted directly on Indeed have 45% more applications than non-sponsored jobs. Don't wait any longer. Speed up your hiring right now with Indeed. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/kidsandfamily. Just go to Indeed.com/kidsandfamily right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Hiring? Indeed is all you need.